Okay, so first of all, we're going to start going into graphing. And so some of the things that we know before is we talked about x and y intercepts. And intercepts are where they touch the axis, okay? So some of you have had a hard time with that. The x and y intercept is where it touches the axis. So in an ordered pair, you always have x and y. I look at this graph, I want the x-intercept. So where does that line, here's my x-axis, okay? That is your x. Where does this line, and I'm going to go over the line with a yellow, where does that yellow touch the x-axis? And it touches it at that point right there. This is a 1 and this is a 2. So it touches it at 2. Now remember, your ordered pair is always x, y, so the 2, since it's on the x-axis, will go in the 2 spot. So it's 2, 0. Intercepts always have a 0. If it's x-intercept, you put the number in the x-coordinate, and the y-coordinate would be 0. So I'm going to label this as well the x-intercept, right? The y-intercept is where does it touch the y-axis, okay? So your y-axis goes up and down. This is your y, okay? And they're always labeled. Where does that yellow line touch the y-axis? 1, 2, 3. So it touches it at 3. Now since this is the y-axis, it needs to go in the y-coordinate. So the ordered pair would be 0, 3. And then you want to talk about, is this line increasing or decreasing? So on this, I'm going to pull up a reveal tool so you can see. You always read a graph from the left. So I'm going to start from the left. Where's your line when we see this? Oh, my yellow line is right here. So this is where you start, starting from the left. So if I was like a little person walking, I'd be walking downhill. So if I'm walking downhill, I am decreasing. And decreasing is always going to be a negative slope, which we're going to talk about later. So we have another graph. I'm just going to go over I'm going to highlight what my graph is. The graph is this slanted line. You have axes. I have the x-axis. Since I did the other one in red, I'll do the x is always the red. And then I've got the purple is the yellow. Okay? So you want to find the x-intercept. So where does that green line touch? Okay? Where does it touch the x-axis? So the green line touches right here. Now this is 0 and right here is 1. So it is halfway between 0 and negative 1. Well, think about if you have $1, what's halfway between no money and $1? It's 50 cents. So halfway between 0 and negative 1 is negative 1/2. That'd be like negative 50 cents. And since it is the x-coordinate, it goes in the first spot. Okay, x-axis, x-coordinate. Y-intercept, where does the green line touch the y-axis? It touches it here, which is 1. So touches it at 1. Since it's the y-intercept, it goes in the y-coordinate, 0, 1. Is it increasing or decreasing? If you have your line, you always start from the left. So where do you see the green? When I'm pulling this back, I see it down here. So this is where you're starting. And notice if I was a man, I'd be hiking up. I'd be walking up. So if I'm walking up, it's increasing, okay? So down is decreasing, up is increasing. And if it's increasing, it would be positive. Now, on the next one, let's say that you're given intercepts and let's graph them, okay? So the x-intercept is going to be on the x-axis. Remember, this is your x-axis right here. So where is negative 3 on the x-axis? 1, 2, 3. This would be negative 3. And then on your y-axis, the y-intercept, the y-axis goes up and down, so that's this line right here. I want to go to negative 4. So here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This right here is negative 4 on that line, okay? So you connect those two dots. So I'm going to connect negative 4 and I'm going to connect negative 3. And you just draw a line. You'll have a ruler and you just connect them. There is your line. Now, I need to decide if it's increasing or decreasing. So some of you do really well. You could just take a calculator and slide it over. Start from the left, and here's my line right here. So start from the left, and then what do you notice? Put your little man on it, and he is going down. If he's going down, it is decreasing. Okay, it's the decreasing. The next one, so the x-intercept, remember this is your x right here. So I want to go to positive 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is positive 5. And the y-intercept, this is the y. I want to go to negative 1. So I go down to negative 1. And so now I'm going to connect those dots. Okay, so there's your line. And decide if it's increasing or decreasing. So start from the left. Here is your line, so that's where you're going to start. So put your little man on it, okay? And what's he doing? He's going up. So if you're going up, it is increasing. And if it's increasing, it's going to be positive. Next, we're going to graph by making a table. Okay, so a couple of different things. Y equals 2x minus 1. Another name for y, remember, is f of x. And I want you to start seeing that. So I could also write that f of x equals 2x minus 1. Okay? So you can either say y equals 2x minus 1 or f of x equals 2x minus 1. So I have x and I have y. X is always your domain. And y is always your range. And remember, another name for y is also f of x. Okay, it's because you'll see that f of x. So y equals 2x minus 1, given the domain. So I have the values for the domain. These are my domain values. So they go in the x column, right? So I'm going to put down negative 1, 0, and positive 1 in the domain. And it says to find the range. So I'm going to use this equation right here, 2x minus 1. Now, since I'm given the value for x, wherever I see the number x, I'm going to put that value. But remember, you always put parentheses, okay? So that's going to be 2 parentheses, negative 1 parentheses, minus 1. So on my calculator, 2 parentheses, negative 1, close parentheses, minus 1. Hit enter. That's negative 3. So the first one is negative 3. Okay? So that ordered pair is negative 1. Well, and y'all may wait. I'll come back to that one. Okay? We'll put it together. We'll do all the range first. So go back and use this function. 2 parentheses, 0, close parentheses, minus 1. Every single time I'm using that equation. So when I put that in the calculator, and some of you can do it without, which is great, but if you need it, you can use it. The answer is negative 1. So my answer is negative 1. And then I have one more. The last one that I have is 2 parentheses, 1 minus 1. So you got 2 parentheses 1 and then minus 1. And that equals 1. So now you have all the range. When you create your ordered pairs, you always have 2 coordinates. And so we're going to write those coordinates down. Remember, the domain always goes in the x value. So in the first one, I have negative 1. In the second one, I have 0. And in the last one, I have positive 1. Well, the range is your answers. That is your f of x. That is your y. So that is your second column. So negative 3, negative 1, and positive 1. Okay? So that's where I got those values for. Negative 1 goes with negative 3. That's what this is right here. Okay? That's where you get them from. 0 goes with negative 1. Here's your ordered pair. Your x and y. So now I can graph them. This is a relation. Remember we talked about relations in chapter 1, and relations are ordered pairs. They show relationships between x and y values, domain and range. So now we're going to graph them. So -1, -3. I have to go to the left 1 and I have to go down 3. So I go left 1, down 3. Okay? Left 1, down 3. That's my first point. My second point, I stay put. So I stay at 0 and then I go down 1. So I stay at 0 and I go down. And the last one, I go to the right 1 and I go up 1. So I start at 0, start at the origin, I go to the right 1, up 1. Once you have those points, you take a ruler and you connect them. Okay. Is it increasing or decreasing? So I can look at my table and look at my graph. I'm starting right here, so this is where my little man goes. And he is going uphill. So he's going uphill, it's increasing. Okay? Let's talk about your x and y intercept. The x-intercept is where does it touch the x-axis, okay? And we've always looked at the x. Here's your x. So just walk across until you get to it. It's right here. This right here is your x-axis, where the line touches the x-axis. That is your x-intercept. It is between 0 and 1. So what is between no money and $1? That's 50 cents. So it's a half. Now remember, when you have an intercept, if it's the x, it goes in the x spot, and the other number is a 0. The y-intercept, so I look on the y-axis, go down the y-axis until you get to, oh, this is your y-intercept. Where does the blue line touch the y-axis? It touches it at -1. Since it is the y-intercept, it goes in the y spot, so the x is a 0. So 0, -1. That is your x and y intercept, and that's increasing or decreasing. Now, notice I have function notation. Is this a function? Remember, a function means that for every x, there is exactly one y. So for every x, there is just one y. I do not have any points over each other. So is this a function? Yes. For every x, there's just one y. By the vertical line test, if I took this reveal tool, every single time, it's just going to pass through that blue line one time. So it is a function. Since it's a function, I can do function notation. Okay? That's what this is. So if it is a function, you do function notation. Remember, f of -1, that is your x. So f of -1, when I plug in a -1 for x, what did I get for my answer? -3. So f of -1 is -3. 0, okay? When x is 0, so right here, when x is 0, what was my y value? -1. F of 0 is -1. What about f of 1? So f of 1, right here, what was my answer? It was also +1. Now, looking at my graph, can I tell what f of -2 is? Well, looking at my graph, if I go, remember x is -2, so I go -2, go down to the line, it's right here. What value is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So f of -2 is -5. F of +2, see if we can find that one. So when x is 2, so go to +2, 1, 2, go up, 1, 2, 3. So it is 3. So when x is 2, y is 3. Remember, this is your x, these are your y's. And the last one, when x is 3, so go to 3, 1, 2, 3, and now go up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I had a ruler, I would have drawn that more accurately, and it would have been a +5. So you can tell your x and y values and also write it in function notation. We're just trying to put everything together that we've learned so far.